All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk Justice League, a little bit of Wonder Woman. So, here in front of you is the poster, League Up. And this is definitely an official poster. How do I know this? Well, this poster is on the official Time Warner Inc. site. Time Warner owns Warner Brothers, also owns HBO, CNN, and so on. Okay? Turner Classic Movies, etc. So, Time Warner, this is where the League Up poster comes from. So that definitely is official. Just to set those things to rest. The next thing is, we coming off of the last video where it was claimed that Casey Affleck is suggesting that Affleck will not do Batman, at least in the Batman upcoming movie, because of the rumors that, to show you that Casey Affleck was just joking, he doesn't really know, Ben Affleck said this in San Diego Comic-Con. Alright, and Entertainment Weekly covered it. Entertainment Weekly does cover a lot of stuff that Ben Affleck says. They're the first usually. So when asked if he will be in the greater DC universe in his role, he says, "My status remains what it always was. I've done 2 movies. I've always intended on doing a third if Warner Brothers wants to make it. Certainly, if the bat phone rings, I will answer." Means he's on contract for 3 movies. Alright? He's on contract for 3 movies. So unless Warner Brothers wants to break that contract with him and he agrees to it, that's kind of signed and sealed. So that's one of the major reasons why we think he's going to be in another movie as Batman. The other thing is, he said because, you see, he gave up his post as directing the Batman and even writing the Batman, I think people got the misconception that he wasn't going to do another Batman movie. And he just said it was just such a big job to do the acting for the character and then at the same time to direct and write the story that, he was always hesitant on that. So that was his explanation. He goes on to say here, Warner's has been working on it and making sure we get it right. That's a partnership you definitely want. With Wonder Woman, they really hit a home run. With Justice League, I think we found the tone and found the flavor of it, he says. I'd love to do it as long as they'll have me, he concludes. Evidently, it'll be somebody else. Eventually, it will be somebody else, and I'm sure they'll get somebody great. But while I'm doing it the best job I can, and really appreciate how lucky I am. So, basically, Ben Affleck straightens out the rumors about that. So when Casey Affleck came after and said, well, I don't think Ben Affleck will play the Batman role. I get where he's coming from, just kind of deductive and from rumors. He probably is deducing, well, he's too old to play the Batman anyway. So, if you're going to do a younger Batman, then you'll have to get somebody else, which makes sense, right? But we don't know what Matt Reeves' the Batman movie will be, and according to Matt Reeves, it looks like this movie anyway would be a movie that is down Ben Affleck's alley. And maybe Ben Affleck is the older Batman. Maybe they'll have a younger Batman. Who knows? We don't know. But what I do know is this. Ben Affleck has a contract, it seems, for 3 films. As Warner Brothers generally signs people up for 3 movies. So that would make sense that Ben Affleck will still have to play the Batman in some capacity in some movie. That is fact. See what I'm saying? Alright, let's move on to the other point. So Ben Affleck was talking more about Justice League. And he said he promises a more traditional Batman in Justice League. And here's why. So, and Zack Snyder, remember, directed most of Justice League. This is what he says. Ben Affleck says, let's see here. Where does he start talking? Okay. Alright. Justice League will mark Ben Affleck's 2nd feature as Batman. Well, technically it's his 3rd. Do I get credit for the Suicide Squad gross? The actor laughs jokingly, underestimating that he was on screen for less than 35 seconds in the last year's villain superhero team up. He'll probably he'll have a decidedly larger role when DC's good guys mobilize in the November blockbuster, which unites Affleck's Dark Knight and Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman alongside Ezra Miller's Flash and so on. Okay. That means Ben Affleck has to learn to work together with his fellow superheroes. He's put in this position of having to reach out, find other people, convincing them to do something, Affleck explains. Part of the drama of the movie is the question of whether or not the team is going to come together. It's very difficult from the tenor of the last movie. And the character is very different too. BVS departed a little bit from the traditional Batman, says Affleck. He started out with all his rage directed at Superman because his co-workers who had died in the fight Superman had with Zod. For Affleck, most of the hero's ensuing actions are defined by barely repressed fury, in contrast to Batman we meet in Justice League. He was holding on to a lot of anger, in a little bit of an irrational way, Affleck says. Whereas this is much more traditional Batman. He's heroic, he does things in his own way, but he wants to save people, help people. Affleck frames the new attitude as a return to a more classical incarnation of the Caped Crusader. This is more in keeping with the canon of how Batman usually has been portrayed, and how he's portrayed, namely the Justice League in the comics. He explains, this is more the Batman you would find if you opened up your average Batman comic book. Not that it's average, Affleck clarifies. I think it's a really cool story. Actually, it's the sort of a story about multilateralization or multilateralism. It's not a bad theme to have. Hey, if the universe's moodiest billionaire can learn the value of collaboration, there's hope for us all. So, he was just explaining a little bit more about the Batman that you will see in Justice League. And again, once again, the Batman that we saw in Batman v Superman, go read Death in the Family, and that's the Batman you're seeing. Okay? Again, Ben Affleck is absolutely correct. Batman is generally not like that. But if you press his buttons a certain way, he can become like that. Okay? So, it's based on situations. Okay? So, what you're going to see now is more of the traditional Batman, still kind of to himself. But he has to reach out. He has to work with the members of the Justice League. But Batman, even though he works with the members of the Justice League, still beats to his own drum. You can just go watch Justice League War. You can go watch The Throne of Atlantis. Batman generally still beats to his own drum. Sorry about that cough. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is Wonder Woman. And it has to do with what is called the Wonder Woman effect. And just very recently in Deadpool, a stunt woman died. But stunt women do such incredible things that I'm going to talk about two stunt women here very briefly. The two stunt women are Michelle and Atlin Michelle, and also the other stunt woman is, I believe, Jennifer Morrison and Lana Parrilla. Now, a stunt woman, like I said before, died on the set of Deadpool. She was riding a motorcycle. I don't know if she was doubling up for Deadpool's partner, but she smashed through some glass, and I guess the glass killed her in the process. But the industry is kind of changing more and more, and Wonder Woman, people in the industry are already citing Wonder Woman for the balance in female led roles, including stunts, because primarily men still get the advantage when it comes to stunts, and they're generally more padded up, according to this article, than women are. They actually take more risk as women doing stunts, because usually the stunt work, they're usually in fitted clothes. They're not in these big, bulky clothing. Now, there are stunts where it doesn't matter if you're a man or woman, and usually these nondescript stunts go to men, sadly. But it's been changing a bit, and Atlin Michelle and Simon Burnett here, they're legendary stunt women. You can see them doing the stunts here for, I think it's a triple flip where all women were actually in the stunt cars. Oh, where is it? I think it was one man and two women were in the stunt cars doing this stunt for some movie. I don't know which one it was. It wasn't Supergirl. It was some other movie. Anyway. So they're kind of balancing it out so that in Hollywood now it's just the best person gets the role. Here is Atlin Michelle, and she actually was a stunt double for Supergirl. Okay, so you see it there on the rig. So women are getting a little bit more work, and now with Wonder Woman, it kind of helps that women get even more work. The only critique she has is she says she wants it to be across the board and not just be gorgeous women in tight, sexy costumes that are beating up guys. Paul Rudd, who plays Ant-Man, is a good-looking guy, but he's not the biggest stud in the world. And let's start having characters like that play superheroes. So she's talking now not so much about gender here, but she was talking about opening up the gap where you don't look at just certain body types also playing the heroes in superhero movies and in movies generally. So I thought this was awesome, and I thought that I would just highlight that. I'm looking forward, and Vice did this article, and I'm looking forward to seeing how progressive Hollywood will be because of what has happened with Wonder Woman. By the way, Charlize Theron's movie, which is, I forgot what the name of it is now, Atomic Blonde, I think it's doing quite well. In fact, according to this article here by Frederick, I can't pronounce his last name, I think it's Bleichert, he's saying that it's actually doing better domestically than John Wick. And it's possible that it may gross in numbers round about John Wick's numbers. It's already broken even and started going to the profit margin, so we'll see what happens with that. Anyway, I wanted to share all of that with you guys. On that note, you guys have a great one.